Hi guys, Darrell Smith here from South Dakota. It's been a while since I've tried to make a video. I've had a birthday. I'm now 86 years old. I've had to deal with little medical problems, and we took 3 weeks off. We intended for a month to stay down in Arizona, just to get away from the cold weather up here in South Dakota, although the weather in South Dakota has been pretty darn nice this winter. Well, this story that I'm going to tell today happened in 1966, we think. And it's the time of the Vietnam War, and as you'll remember, I was a Marine attack pilot, and the war was going on over in Vietnam. So it was pretty, we knew, Glenda and I knew, that I was eventually going to go to war. But it didn't seem real. It didn't really, we didn't really realize what was going to happen. But we ended up, I was through with my training. We got Glenda established in a little duplex near her family and my family. So I was happy that she was going to have some support from their good support team while I was gone. And then all at once we were standing at the airport in Memphis, Tennessee, looking at each other, not knowing what to say or do. It was a strange feeling. It didn't seem real. Once I stepped onto that airplane, we thought that we'd be separated at least for a year and maybe forever, because it was kind of a dangerous situation that I was going into. Well, I jumped on the airplane. I got seated on the airplane and flew to San Francisco area, and I believe it was Travis Air Force Base. We stayed for a day or so, and then we jumped on another plane, which went to Honolulu, and then from Honolulu to Okinawa. And we were in Okinawa for 8 or 10 days. Processing. I don't know what processing means, what they were doing, but we were hanging around in Okinawa. Eventually, I was put on a Marine Corps C-130 transport airplane and flown into Chu Lai, Vietnam. We landed on, it was aluminum matting runway. We landed on the runway at night, and I trudged through the sand and finally was directed toward empty tent with some bunks in it, and I stretched out on the bunk, and that was my bed for the night. Just about time I was about to get to sleep, a big artillery piece, they fired, and I don't know where it was. I never saw the thing, but it seemed like it was right next door to me. The whole area was bright with the explosion, and the noise was ridiculous. I probably jumped 3 feet off that couch or that cot that I was sleeping on. Anyway, that was my introduction to Vietnam. I right away started flying, and I was flying most days, and it was hot and uncomfortable. And I had been there about 3.5 months when, much to my surprise, I thought I'd be there the whole 12-month period flying combat missions, but about 3.5 months into the flying, or to my tour down there, it was I don't know who made the decision, but a decision was made to rotate my squadron to Iwakuni, Japan, to take on new pilots and to continue our training. When you're a pilot, you never stop training. Well, I found out that we were going to be there for a little over a month, I think. And the idea quickly popped into my head that I wanted Glenda to come visit me while I was there. I was stressed, I was tired, the living conditions were miserable, and I just wanted some relief, and I didn't care how much it cost. I just wanted her there. In that back in those days, there was no telephone calls. I spent 1 year, except for the time I spent with Glenda in Japan. I spent an entire year without talking to her on the telephone. we communicated strictly by mail, and a letter took 8 or 10 days to go one way. So I'm not sure how we set it up, but I some way got in touch with her, and she'd just had her son, and he was what, I don't know, 2 months old, and so he was just a baby. But I wanted her to come see me. So we don't remember how we set it up and how we talked and how we made the process, but I went to Japan and was there a week or so before she arrived. And again, I don't know how we made the arrangements, but I caught a train to Hiroshima, where they dropped the first atomic bomb, and waited in the train station for her. Oh, it was the airport. I rode a train from Iwakuni up to Hiroshima, and then she flew into that airport. And so I don't know how we got together, but we did. And and on the 30 or 40-minute train ride back to Iwakuni, we got to know each other a little bit. It was a great day to see her face to face, and there were days where I thought I would never see her again. Well, we were. It was a good time there, and we met some of the other guys. A couple of them had invited their wives over, and so we quickly bonded, and we traveled around Japan and explored Japan a little bit. Glenda and I, in order to just get a feel for the country, got on a train one time and rode to a fishing village, maybe 30 or 40 miles from Iwakuni, and with the intent of staying overnight. Well, we did find a hotel, and we did not find anybody in town that could speak English, and we certainly couldn't speak Japanese, but we found a little hotel that was a completely Japanese type, and the little ladies in there tried their best to understand and figure out what we were needing and what we were up to. But we had finally we got a room, and they led us and showed us to our room, and then they led us into the bath, and there was a big pool of hot water, and small stools sitting around the pool. We didn't know what we were supposed to do. We finally disrobed and soaked in the pool for a while. We wondered if the hotel staff was watching. They would probably got a pretty good laugh out of us. I remember that our bed was a futon on the floor, and there was a vase of flowers sitting on a table nearby. Well, I moved the vase of flowers down to near the head, near our pillow, and 2 different times we came back to the room after going for a walk or whatever, and the flowers were back on the table again. Anyway, we had a great time. The couple, 2 other couples we hung out with most of the time, and we had some adventures with them. One, we went to it was kind of a holiday or a vacation or island, and there was a bunch of monkeys on the island, a lot of them. And so I bought a little pack of peanuts, and I was handing them out to the monkeys one at a time. Well, this big male monkey, he charged and bumped into my leg and grabbed the whole bag of peanuts, and ran off about 5 or 10 feet. And looked back at me and said, he looked like he had anger in his eyes, and he seemed to say, "Yes, I took your peanuts. What are you going to do about it?" He's lucky I didn't have a shotgun at that time. It would have been a different output. Well, Glenda and I found, before she got there, I had found it a little Japanese house. Again, it was all Japanese. The floor was straw mats on the floors, and the bathroom, rather than a toilet like we're used to, it was a toilet that was level with the floor, and about, I'd say, 2.5, 3 feet long, 10 inches wide. And the idea, to get the job done, you had to squat over this toilet. It flush, but you had to squat over this toilet. To the back of our little house, it was a walkway about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 feet wide. And then that's where the rice paddy started. Japan is a crowded island, and it has, they use every bit of space that they can. So if you drove down a country road and anywhere in the United States, there would be the pavement, and then there'd be a ditch on either side, then a fence usually in the pasture or farmland. Well, they farm right up to the edge of the pavement, so that when you're in a car, at times you would drive over the vines or the limbs of the plant that was planted there. So anyway, we rented this little house, and then right as we came out of our front door, about real close to 3 feet, 4 feet, was about a 3-foot concrete block wall. And over that wall was a Japanese house that was just not very far away at all. And they have paneling or something in their house, but you could look into their house and pretty much see the activities that they were doing all day long. You could watch them cooking and napping and eating. Well, when we got ready to leave finally, we had a few little things, nothing, Coke, a couple of bottles of Coke, and maybe other few little things. And we just gave them to the Japanese. Oh, they were so excited, and they did a lot of bowing, and we couldn't talk to each other. But they gave us more stuff than we gave them. They wanted to return, just insisted on we take whatever, I forget what now they gave us. But it was kind of an interesting little incident. Had no transportation except for an old a bicycle, and that's what I rode back and forth to the base to fly. All other transportation was by cab or train. The cabs were 80 yen, and I don't remember the exchange rate now, but it was very cheap. It was like 50 cents or something for a cab. Kind of lost my train of thought there. One of the things I did, it was kind of an interesting thing. Glenda arriving in Japan was a big event in our lives. We thought it ought to be recorded, so we bought a camera. I bought a $45 Pentax, which was a pretty nice camera at the time. And we were out somewhere with the other group and getting toward sunset, and somebody recommended a restaurant, and we showed up there, and we were well into the meal when I said, "Holy cow, I left my new camera in the cab." Oh, I was depressed. Suddenly, the front door pops open, and the cab driver comes in. His eyes are big. He's looking all over the room for us, finally sees us, and comes running over and delivers us that camera. I'm not sure that would happen in very many cities in the U.S. It made me have a favorable impression of the Japanese people. We did reward him for bringing the camera back. Well, I don't know what else I was going to tell you about our stay there, but it was a wonderful thing. She must have stayed 3 weeks or a month, and we did all kinds of things. They had a shooting range on the base, and we skeet, and Glenda got pretty good at shooting skeet. But all good things come to an end, and once again, we parted, and without knowing for sure that we'd ever see each other again. We cannot remember how we made the arrangements for her to leave. I don't remember taking her to the airport up in Hiroshima, and so we just don't remember that. But it all happened, and we had a good time, and we partied, and I went back to Vietnam, and I had another 6 or 7 months of combat duty, and it was a possibility of not living. So it was a wonderful thing when I finally got through with my tour duty and caught an airplane and flew into Memphis, Tennessee, and walked off of that airplane, and she's standing there again. We're facing each other. It was a wonderful event. So that's my little story, up to date a little bit about our trip, Glenda's trip to Japan during the Vietnam War. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you.